Hey there, Lens Legends, and welcome to the Portrait Profit Show. I'm your host, Jim Landers, your guide on the business side, and it's my mission to uplift portrait photographers to make a great income doing what they love. This show focuses on the business side of photography, the real challenges professional photographers face every single day. Now, if you tuned in expecting the episode we had prepared for today called Silent Posts, don't worry, it's coming soon. But the tragic events of the past few days in my area, I live in San Antonio, Texas, and I know a lot of you do too, but I know there's people watching from all over the world. But the tragic events of the past uh, uh, a few days ago in my area have been weighing heavily on me, and probably a lot of you as well. So I've made a change in the show schedule. We'll come back to marketing and systems soon enough, but today's episode is different. We're talking about a part of this work that we do that no one really prepares us for, and yet something every portrait photographer will face. We're we're talking about what to do when grief enters the lives of the families we've served, and how to prepare for these moments when our portraits become something more. The Portrait Profit Show is brought to you by Digital Pro Lab and Landers Photography School. For Digital Pro Lab, and I'll look that up differently. For Digital Pro Lab and her amazing, wonderful team, oh man, they are fantastic. They're going to make you look like a hero just by default because they are that good. If you haven't used the services of Digital Pro Lab yet, what are you waiting for? Go to digitalprolab.com and see the difference that they make. You're going to be impressed. This show is also sponsored by Landers Photography School. And that's me, that's my company. I teach both the photography side and the business side. And of course, I encourage you, in fact, I'll put this up on the screen. I encourage you to reach out to me. Put yourself on my schedule for a free 15-minute session with me. Just you and I talking about your goals, what it is you want to accomplish. Go to the address you see on the screen. You might need to screenshot that, but it's calendly.com/photo school /15 min min, short for minutes, but just to make it easy, 15 min. I want to encourage you to make comments, ask questions throughout today's lesson. I want you to go to the comments right now and enter in hashtag live. That makes me aware that you're watching us live here today on either Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, or simulcast to several places. And for those of you who are watching the replay, please enter in hashtag replay. But If you're watching right now, it's hashtag live. I also request that you share the Portrait Profits show. It's really easy to do. Just click the share button. Let others know that this show exists because we can uplift everyone by doing so. I want to talk about something, well, something no one prepares us for in the portrait photography business. You won't read about it in a business book. It's not built into your studio management software. And chances are your friends in the industry who may have been very helpful, well, they haven't mentioned it. Not because they don't care, but because maybe they haven't experienced it yet, or it just hasn't crossed their mind when sharing things with you. But there will come a day when your clients' lives change in an instant, when grief shows up uninvited, and suddenly the work we've done, the portraits you've created for them, they aren't just pictures, not anymore. And let me pause here to clarify what I mean by client. In this lesson today, clients just, well, it doesn't just mean the person you booked for the session or the person who signed the contract. It means anyone who's been in front of your camera, anyone whose story you've helped preserve, whether they made the decision to hire you or not. If they've been in front of your camera, this is the client I'm referring to today. If you're a family portrait photographer, that means every parent, every child, every grandparent in the portraits you've created. They're all your clients in this context. You may ask why I'm classifying it that way. It's because your work touched their lives too. One day you're going to get the call, the text, the email. Maybe you see it on a social media post. Maybe you hear about it in the news. Someone you photographed has passed. You feel it. You feel it right here. In that moment, the emotions will hit you hard. Tears may well up. You'll feel the need to do something, but what? How? In this lesson, we're going to walk you through 4 key parts to help you respond thoughtfully. It's actually 3 parts with an action step at the end. But it's going to help you respond thoughtfully, compassionately, and confidently when a client passes away. Here are the things we're going to explore together. First, why you need a plan. Second, the 3-phase response framework. Number 3, self-care and boundaries for you, and then some action steps. These steps in your evolution as a portrait photographer are what happens next because of the emotional bond that you built with your clients. It's about being human and understanding the quiet but powerful role we play in our clients' lives, especially in their most vulnerable moments. Are you guys ready to hear this? If you are, do me a favor, type in ready in the comments, letting me know that you're ready for this. I want to hear this. This sounds good. No, this sounds like something I want to hear. If you haven't already, enter in hashtag live, letting me know that you're watching the show live today. Now, as you know, If you've watched this show, I I always create a handout for all the episodes of the Portrait Prophet shows. If you would like today's handout with everything you're gonna be hearing today, including the templates, including the words that I use, including everything and actually a few things more, that you'll be adding these are things that you'll be adding to a procedure manual. I I usually charge $10 for that, which I think is pretty cheap considering what you're getting, but I'm not charging anything for it. All you need to do, if you want it, is just send me an email. Now, in the subject line, please enter in, send the July 7th handout. That way I know which one it is that you're asking for, and I'll send it to you. Send an email to, jim@landersphotoschool.com, jim@landersphotoschool.com. I'll put that on the screen. There we go. I'm gonna help you create a client loss response plan. Because when you're hit with the news that a client has passed away, your heart will ache. You'll feel the pull to reach out, to do something, anything. You wanna ease that family's pain. But here's the thing, in that moment, emotions are high, not just for them, they're high for you. Maybe not to the same extent, of course, but they are high for you too. So, of course, theirs are. But I'm not talking about theirs right now. I'm talking about yours. You won't be thinking clearly. Elevated emotions do not clarify rational thinking. You'll second guess yourself. Should I call? Should I send a message? Should I give them space? What if I say the wrong thing? And all of that uncertainty can leave you stuck, unsure, and potentially doing nothing and feeling bad about that, or worse, doing something that doesn't come across the way you intended. So let's talk about why winging it doesn't work. Trying to figure it out in the middle of grief is like showing up to a session without charged batteries or without a full or maybe you have a full memory card and no extras, or you're showing up without any idea of what your client wanted and then expecting yourself to perform flawlessly under that pressure. You're scrambling, you're struggling, you're second guessing, and the whole experience suffers. That is why you need a plan. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to be robotic. It isn't about turning compassion into a checklist. It's about giving yourself a calm, thoughtful framework, something that you can lean on so that you can respond with care and confidence, even though your emotions are swirling. I'm going to share a story with you. Just one. I've experienced this many times. That's probably no surprise. I've been doing full time portrait photography since 1991. So obviously, it's a long time. And yeah, I've experienced this many times. But I'm going to share one story because I learned this lesson firsthand. I'm going to, there's several stories that could help illustrate or help convey what I'm trying to say here. But I once photographed a single mom and her 3 boys at a location that had deep emotional meaning for them, which I that's something I do. I like photographing in places that have an emotional connection. I couldn't care any less about pretty places. When I see people on Facebook, photographers on Facebook saying, "Well, what's a good place to do a family portrait? What's a good place to do a senior portrait?" I'm thinking, "You have missed the point. It's not about you. It's not about pretty places. It's about places that have emotional connections. Now, if that's not an option, a pretty place. It looks like I lost my internet connection. That's been happening today. Something's off, but hopefully we'll that won't happen again. We'll see. But I was just sharing with you this story. It's a mom and her 3 boys. Wonderful clients, all 4 of them. Loved every moment I spent with them. But only a few weeks later, the oldest boy, the life of the party, smart, good looking, had everything going for him, passed in a tragic accident. Now, because I had photographed each of her sons individually, I was able to quickly prepare and frame that portrait, and I chose 2 other ones, and I printed and framed those as well. That it was for the funeral. So when I showed up at the funeral with the prints, the mother's demeanor shifted completely. She was surprised, she was proud, she was grateful. She couldn't stop telling others about it. I mean, it was interesting to see that change in her. For a moment, she seemed lighter, she seemed energized, so proud to show those portraits. Of course, it's not going to take away her pain, but it reminded me how much what we do as portrait photographers matters. Lens legends, I want you to understand that our work is more powerful than even we realize. We innately know that it's not just about creating beautiful images, but that it's about preserving something priceless, even for moments we can't predict. Let's be clear, what we're talking about today isn't about growing your business. It's not about marketing. Sure, some of the things we're doing are going to have that effect, but that's not what it's about. This isn't about trying to get referrals. This is not about impressing anyone. This isn't about showing up for appearances. This is about recognizing that the portraits we create often become the anchors that families cling to in their hardest days. And as the person who created those portraits, you place in their story. You've built a bond with that client. You've earned a role that's much bigger than the person who pressed the shutter release button. You've created memories that mean more now than they ever have. So, what creating a plan gives you is clarity. You'll know what to do, when to do it, and how to say it. Confidence. You'll avoid second guessing yourself or pulling back out of fear. And compassion. You'll be able to focus on their needs, not on scrambling to decide your next move. And maybe most importantly, a plan that protects you too. Because these moments are heavy. They can take a toll on your heart. With a plan, you won't have to figure out everything through your tears. You can act with integrity and then give yourself permission to grieve too. Make sure to click that like button if you hear something you like, or that love button. And if you haven't already, enter in hashtag live into the comments section, letting me know that you're watching live. All right. Now that we've talked about why having a plan matters, let's look at what that plan actually looks like. In this next section, I'll share a clear three-phase framework for responding to these delicate moments with grace, compassion, and professionalism. And if you would like the handout, I'm sure you know, but I create handouts for every one of the Portrait Prophets shows. And if you would like that, normally I charge $10 for it, but this one is different. It's free, but you'd have to do something in order to get it. You have to send me an email telling me that you want it. That's it. So send me an email, Jim at Landers Photo School. I'll put that up on the screen one more time. Jim at landersphotoschool.com. And uh, in the subject, say, send the July 7th handout. That tells me which one that you want, because it's quite possible that you're also wanting some others. So please identify which one it is you're referring to. Send it to Jim at landersphotoschool.com. Again, totally free. Now that we've talked about why you need a plan, let's walk through what that plan looks like. Some will get the mistaken idea that a plan is rigid. Guys, if you believe that, then you've never planned. You don't have a clue. A plan isn't rigid, it keeps you focused. It doesn't cause you to not be able to take detours. In fact, it's the thing that causes you to be able to take smart ones. I can't believe it when I cross paths with someone who says, "Well, if I make a plan, and something changes, I won't be able to change." In what world would you not be able to change? It makes zero sense. There's no logic in it. Assuming that you're in control, a plan is simply a flexible framework that you adjust depending on the situation and the relationship. Think of this plan that I'm going to share with you right now as three phases, each giving you guidance on how to respond to the thoughtfulness and compassion that you want to share, while also protecting your emotional energy. Photographers, you know you have a creative energy tank. This subject today is absolutely something that can drain it, and quickly. Let's make sure to protect yourself and not let that happen. The first phase. This is the immediate phase. This is what happens right now. When you first hear the news, your heart will want to act immediately. You'll feel the pull to reach out or do something right away. But in this first phase, the most important thing to do is pause, breathe. Resist the urge to call or message unless the family contacts you first. Now, there are times when there may be something obvious that makes reaching out to them the right choice. Obviously, you're going to do that. But if there isn't something that stands out, then wait. Quietly take a moment to process your own emotions. Maybe look back at the most recent photography session that you had with them. Locate the images in your archive. and flag the ones that you think might be meaningful to them. Grief is raw early on. You know it. So your first step is not the time for action. It's the time to prepare yourself emotionally and logistically. You guys following this? Do you agree? If you've got something more to say, let me have it. That's what the comment section is for. I want to talk about social media considerations, though. This part about social media, it doesn't apply to everyone, but for many photographers, social media is part of how they process emotions and stay connected with their clients. So, in the age of instant sharing, you may feel the urge to post a tribute on social media when a client passes away. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm saying that before you do, pause and consider some things. For instance, has the family already posted something publicly about the death? If yes, then it may be safer for you not to post on your own, but to post as a response, your condolences as a response. Now, I understand you may feel the need to post on your own page. If you're intending on saying their name or anything that is directly related to them, that identifies them, please do this only if you have a strong connection with them and you feel confident that it will be appreciated. I'll say more about that here in just a moment. Consider this. Would this post comfort or burden them? Some families, some individuals find public tributes to be beautiful and healing. Others feel their grief is something that needs to be private, and that if it isn't, that you are a business who's just making content and using it to benefit themselves. And you don't want that because that's not who you are. That's not your intention. That's why you have to see it from their point of view. Consider, do you have explicit or implied permission? I mean, you know your clients, so maybe you don't need it. Gray area, maybe. So if you're unsure, wait. A private message or a handwritten card is almost always better in the first few days. But if you do post, keep it about the client and the family, not your business. Don't include pricing, don't include offers, don't include anything that appears to be marketing material. No links to your portfolio. Now, considering this recent tragedy that compelled me to write and present this today, I want to comment about a social media post that was made the same day that I liked, not that I was bothered by. I liked it. I saw a post that was made by a photographer the same day as the client that they had photographed passed. Generally speaking, I would not recommend that. However, this particular post was great. I do imagine that the family appreciated it, as well as all of those who were concerned and caring about it. Here's the takeaway I want to convey. When in doubt, don't do it. You can't take back a post made too soon. Sure, you can delete a post, but they've already seen it. Let me give you a generalized reflection that you can use to elevate your portrait work, but not your business. When the time feels right, You might want to make a public statement to reflect on why portrait photography matters so deeply. So you're not directly connecting this to the tragedy, you're just making a generalized comment. Here's something you might say. Now, make sure that anytime I give you things that I'm giving you generalized versions of it. You have to tweak it to make it your own. It's not even exactly what I would say. It's generalized. And sometimes the generalized version is appropriate, but think it through. Here's something that you could say. There are moments in life that remind us of why photography matters so much. Photographers aren't just making amazing portraits. We're preserving pieces of people's lives, their stories, their laughter, their love. Now, if you want to get a little bit more specific, you could add something like, today, my heart is heavy as I think of a family that I've had the honor of photographing. One of their loved ones has passed. And while my words can't ease their grief, I'm reminded again what I do, why what I do is so important. So to all the families I've photographed over the years, thank you for trusting me to create these memories. It's a privilege that I don't take lightly. Phase 2 of the 3. This would be short term. So that immediate is within the first 3 days. Short term, this is a few days later, 3 to 10 days. So this is where you do reach out directly to them after a few days. Once the initial shock has settled slightly, reach out gently. The goal here is simply to show that you care. When you do reach out, I want you to remember something. And yeah, I'm harping on it because I've seen it. This is not the time for marketing. It's not it's not about saying the perfect thing either. You're not going to do this perfectly. So focus simply on being kind. Focus on being human. Send a handwritten condolence card. Keep it simple, heartfelt, and avoid cliches. Here's an example of what you might say. My heart aches for you and your family during this time. I'm just going to put in a made up name. Sally's bright spirit was a joy to photograph, and I feel honored to have been able to capture a piece of your beautiful family story. Please know that my thoughts are with you. I have a pro tip for you. I recommend keeping a small set of of custom note cards on hand that feature your brand, but are neutral enough to use for any occasion. These are thank you notes, special milestones, whatever you use. Just a card that has something that is maybe it's your artwork on the front and it's blank on the inside, and maybe on the back it does have some contact information on it, but it's neutral. Again, think special milestones and yes, even messages of condolence. Having them ready means you won't hesitate to write when the moment calls for it. Now, I recommend, and I'm going to put this on the screen. You know who I'm going to recommend for this. I recommend that you go to digitalprolab.com products greeting dash cards. That's where you need to go to order their press cards. That this is everyone should have this. There's plenty of times when you need to send a thank you card. I would say just during a session, there's the thank you card that comes after that initial consultation, the thank you card that comes after that wonderful photography session, and the thank you card after delivery. That's 3 for just one session. And there's a whole lot of other times when a thank you card is appropriate or something else that you want to share. Birthdays, anniversaries, I'll comment on those a little bit. Got some greeting cards from Digital Pro Lab. Take advantage of it. If appropriate, offer a complimentary print for the memorial service. Please phrase it carefully. We have to avoid sounding transactional. Let me give you an example. Here's something I might say. If it would help, I'd be honored to prepare a complimentary print for Sally's memorial service or for your family to have at home. Please let me know if that would feel meaningful to you. As always, make sure to use your own words here. I gave you some words that I might use, but you've got to use your own. The word complimentary is formal, maybe too formal for what you do. If that's how you feel, maybe free or maybe at no cost to you may feel more appropriate. Back to being general, here's a key reminder. Focus on being a quiet, supportive presence. A quiet, supportive presence. Phase three, this would be long term. This is sustained support. So, weeks, months, years later, I'm thinking weeks or months. When emotions aren't quite as raw, they're there, but not quite as raw. You might consider offering a gesture that helps the family continue their healing journey. So, up to a year, 1 month to a year, consider gifting a session or even offering to photograph them with no session fee. Now, you might choose to do uh, this in 2 or 3 years. You know that family. So this may not be ever be appropriate. It's just something I'm throwing out there as a consideration. But here's what you might say. When the time feels right for you, I would love to gift your family a portrait session. There's no timeline. In fact, I'd like to give you a standing gift of a waived session fee anytime you're ready for portraits in the future. Just know that this is my way of honoring your loved one and your family's journey. There's other moments where you could, maybe should reach out. I mentioned it earlier, birthdays, anniversaries. Use that same card or maybe send them an email message, a direct message, but something that shows you cared and that you remember. Something to consider, something that's important here is before offering, check in with yourself. Are you emotionally ready to hold space for them? If not, it's okay to wait. This three-phase framework is simply a set of general considerations, not rules. You know your clients, so trust yourself to do what feels right for each unique situation. Are you guys feeling this? I'm seeing a lot of comments. I'm seeing a lot of likes, loves, care emojis. I appreciate that. You feeling this though? Give me a yes in the comments. Let me know you're feeling this. If you haven't, let's talk about something that's just as important as your clients in this scenario, and that's you. because supporting grieving families or just having that take up space in your mind can be emotionally draining for us creatives, for anyone, but I'm addressing photographers. In this next section, we'll explore how to care for your own heart and set healthy boundaries so you can serve others without burning out. I know that I am preaching to the choir when I say that the work we do is meaningful. It touches lives in ways not even we sometimes realize. But moments of tragedy can take a toll not just on our clients, but on us as photographers too. Supporting grieving families isn't something we're trained for. And yet, because of the emotional bond we've built with our portraits, with our clients, we often find ourselves in a quiet but powerful role. That role is beautiful, but it is heavy. So therefore, self-care boundaries, they're essential. You've probably heard this. You can't pour from an empty cup. As much as you may want to show up for those grieving families, you are human. Their loss may trigger your own memories, your own fears, your grief. And that's not a flaw. That's part of being compassionate. It's just part of being a portrait photographer. You had it before you started. But if you don't take time to care for yourself, you risk burning out, or at least carrying emotional weight that's going to affect other areas of your life. So let's talk about some healthy boundaries. We need to know our limits before reaching out to a client, whether that's for offering prints, sending a condolence note, or even leaving a comment on social media. Pause and ask yourself, am I in the right place emotionally to support them in this moment? Because it's a natural thing to feel a rush of compassion when you hear about a client's loss. Some people believe that when emotions run high, that they're at their most focused, at their best. And in some ways that could be true, but that kind of hyper focus often narrows our vision. It can lead us to act too quickly, to say something we didn't actually fully think through. Cause us to overcommit in ways that can drain us or disappoint them later. So before you reach out, take a moment. Let your emotions settle enough so that you can act with clarity and compassion, which is way more important than urgency. Because when a family is grieving, even the kindest gesture given at the wrong moment can unintentionally cause harm to them and to you. I want you to allow yourself, at least in this instance, to have a not right now type of mindset. Now, in my lessons, in my for when I'm talking to my students, yes, I'm telling them right now, do this right now. I'm telling you, give yourself some leeway in this situation. I want you to have a not right now mindset because just because you've been their photographer doesn't mean you must step in immediately. Sometimes a quiet card, a direct message, an email, a text. Sometimes that's the right choice. Maybe think it through and create a personal set of steps, which is called a ritual for closure. If a client's passing hits you hard, consider a small ritual for yourself. Maybe you can just light a candle, write a private note that you don't intend to send to them. Keep it in your own history file. Or maybe you want to just look through their most recent photography session as a way to honor their memory and process your emotions. I want you to process. I want you to have a decision checklist before you choose to reach out. Here's three questions. Did I have a meaningful relationship with this family? Or what was the meaningful relationship I had with this family? The second is, do I feel emotionally stable enough to support them right now? And the third is, can I follow through on what I might offer without resentment, without overwhelm? I've got another one. Would my reaching out feel like support to them, or will it feel like an intrusion? Please understand that it is okay to wait. You're not failing them by caring for yourself first. You must pour from a full cup, not an empty one, or at least a partially full one. When the time feels right, you can step back with a full heart and a clear mind. Let me give you a gentle reminder. You're a photographer. You're not a grief counselor. Your gift is the portraits you've created and the empathy you bring. But you're neither capable nor are you responsible for fixing their pain. And you're not going to. Sometimes the quietest gestures, a handwritten note, sending them a print. Sometimes those mean the most. Holding space silently is an act of love. If this is resonating with you today, will you go over to the comments and let me know? Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you're feeling. Share what you have experienced, what you've tried. I can see a lot of you have been doing that, and I appreciate it. These are good. Thank you, guys. Is um, Here's a very common thought that I hear often. Flip, listening while editing photos. That is probably what most of you guys are doing. Love that. Thanks for sharing that, Flip. All right. I want to give you an action step. I want you to create your own personalized plan. I want you to take 15 minutes. This doesn't take very long. Well, all right. If you're doing it from scratch, it takes a while. If you get my template, this is going to take you 15, 20 minutes. So take some time today to customize this plan for your business and then add it to your procedure manual. By the way, I do know some of you don't have procedure manuals, but gosh darn you guys, you're a business. What business doesn't have a procedure manual? I mean, really, this is an important one to add to it if you have one. If you don't have one, you know what? I can help you create one. So you're going to create this so that you're ready when, not if, when this happens. You don't need to follow it rigidly, but having it in place means you'll respond with care even when emotions are high. These steps are the ones that I shared with you already. I'll go over them with you one more time. The first is phase one, the immediate phase, where you process your own emotions, maybe review their work, their most recent work that you've done for them. Maybe you send a direct message, maybe you send out a card. The second is short term. This would be maybe 3 days to 2 weeks or so. You could, in that period of time, if you haven't already, send out a condolence card. Print or offer to print a photograph that they can use for the memorial. You can consider social media, but carefully. Maybe a general statement that you make on your page. It's all dependent on what you know about that client and your relationship with that client. And then long term, check in on anniversaries, on birthdays. So, um, let's say that you know the birthdays of each of the family members, and let's say that one has passed. On the birthday of that one who's passed, you send the letter early because you want it to arrive on time. But if you're mailing it, and this could be something you're emailing or direct messaging, just something that acknowledges that you're thinking about them, that you loved them. This is something that you could automate, but it's not something I'm telling you to automate. If that's how your system works, then add it. Thinking about a letter, getting not a letter, a greeting card that you get printed from Digital Pro Lab. Send that out. Birthdays, anniversaries. Obviously, a lot of things you can do. Now, reach out to me, Jim at landersphotoschool.com. Someone told me earlier today that they sent an email to that email and it didn't go through. If that's the case, then try Jim at landersphotography.com. They both go to the same place, Jim at landersphotography.com. But send me a message saying that you want today's handout. That way you can build this part of your procedure manual a whole lot quicker. What we do as portrait photographers goes far beyond pressing a shutter release button. We don't take pictures. We hold time still. We preserve moments that one day are going to become priceless lifelines for the people we serve. In moments of grief, Those portraits are no longer photographs, prints on the wall, art. They become anchors for families adrift in loss. Proof that their loved one laughed, lived, loved, and mattered. As photographers, we're entrusted with something sacred. Long after we pack up our gear and drive away, the impact of our work lingers on screens, in frames, on walls, in albums held by trembling hands, in hearts of those left behind. That's why what we do matters. And that's why creating a client response plan matters. Because when the unthinkable happens, you won't be scrambling for the right words. You're not going to be wrestling with uncertainty. You'll be ready, not just as a portrait photographer, but as a compassionate human being who understands the quiet, lasting power of this work we do. I hope you've enjoyed the show. If you need help with any of these suggestions, I hope you know that my private coaching sessions are here to help you. Let me put up that address again. This is for a free 15-minute Zoom call with me, just to talk about you and your goals, where you're headed, what this all means to you. If you haven't already, we go over to the comment section and just take a moment to put in a takeaway from this show, a story, a method you use, the words you use, when you do it. This one was heavy. As you know, the Portrait Profit Show is something that's done every single Monday. And I'm going to tell you what the upcoming shows are here in just a moment. But before I do, I want to let you know that for those who are in the San Antonio area, that I'm conducting a series of photo walks where we just get out to interesting places around San Antonio. I'm doing 20 photo walks between today. The first one's this evening. It was actually scheduled for last night, but it was raining. So this evening and August 16th. And let me put up the address for that. There we go. Again, this is just for those who are in San Antonio, but this, if you go to my website, landersphotoschool.com, actually just go there and click on the link that takes you to the photo walk, the summer photo walks. But that's the full address. And you can see the 20 different places that we're going. I also want to encourage you to take a look at my career photographer program. Now, if you go to careerphotographer.com, you can find out more information about this. What you see here on the screen is the guide that gives a whole lot of information about the program. It's a year-long coaching program, which is at an extreme discount right now. But take advantage of that. Now, getting to the upcoming shows. As you know, we do this, the Portrait Profit Show, every single Monday. And I want to tell you what's coming. You're going to like it. In 1 week from today, we're going to spend a little bit more time on the subject that we just went over. Now, this wasn't planned either. This is because of the tragedy that we in Texas have experienced. This on July 14th. Let me put that banner up. July 14th at 6:30. It's a panel discussion, and for panel discussions, we move the time from noon to 6:30 in the evening, and that's simply so it's easier for me to find panelists. It's difficult to find panelists during the day, so it's at 6:30 in the evening, making it easier to get panelists. So we're going to be talking about portraits, loss, and legacy. As portrait photographers, we preserve love, we anchor memories, and we create echoes of life that outlast us all. But what happens when grief enters the families we've photographed? How do we respond to these moments when our work becomes a lifeline? In this powerful panel discussion, we're talking about navigating client loss with thoughtfulness, compassion, and confidence. Together, we'll explore how to honor the families we've served and embrace the quiet, lasting power of the portraits we create. Now, because I've just made this change, I do not have panelists lined up. So if you have families who've lost someone in the most recent tragedy and you would like to be part of this panel, please reach out to me. I would love for you to be part of this panel. I'd love to hear something that is recent, raw, you're feeling it right now. I think that would add so much to this next show. Please reach out if that's affected you. Now, if it, I also want those who have had that, who have been directly affected by this, who have had something that they did in response, so that they can answer the questions. I'd like for you to reach out to. So reach out to me. I need 3 panelists. Reach out to me, Jim@landersphotoschool.com, and let me know you'd like to be a panelist next week. 1 week from today, 6:30 in the evening, July 21st. Excuse me, July 14th. Next is July 21st. And that one is, it's not the gear, it's you. If new equipment could generate or guarantee growth, upgrades would guarantee success. But it doesn't, because clients don't book you because you bought a new camera. The good news, it's not your gear. The bad news is that the problem is probably you. But the better news, you can actually do something about that because now you've identified it. We'll isolate what moves your business forward and identify what's just keeping you busy. And then 1 week after that, on July 28th, this one's a fun one. Even the dog looked at me funny. Sometimes you've felt off. Maybe it's been building for a while. Other times it just pops up. And occasionally it feels like everybody knows it. Even the dog seems to notice, tilting its head, giving you the side eye. We're looking at the small or unexpected signals that tell us it's time to adjust. Not necessarily because something's wrong, but because something's now ready for attention. Now that rounds out the month of July, but let me tell you what the first 2 in August are, because that's where we're putting these 2 that would have happened this week and next week. So 1 week from today is silent posts. That's what was scheduled. That's what I prepared for today. This is why your posts are getting ignored and what to do about it. So if your posts are getting ignored, or not getting the attention that you think they need, it's not always your content that's the problem. So, in this episode of the Portrait Profit Show, we're talking about how to fix what I call silent posts, those well meaning social media posts that get little to no engagement. Whether you're posting about a limited time offer, a new studio space, mini sessions, a personal project, this episode will make sure your post actually reaches your ideal clients. And then 1 week after that, August 11th, how I use social media. The one that was planned for next week will be in August. We're just moving things around. By the way, if you're one of the panelists for next, one of the panelists that was scheduled for this, how I use social media, consider this your first news that I have moved the date, and so hopefully you're available next month. I have this has happened so fast, I haven't had a chance to reach out to them yet. I will. By the way, chances are some of them there's 3, some of them won't be able to make it. If you are really good with social media, or if you feel really strongly about, your posts on social media and how to get that message out to make other photographers stand out, then I encourage you to reach out to me about the panel discussions. By the way, anytime I tell you about a panel discussion and you want to be a member of the panel, reach out to me, Jim@landersphotoschool.com, and let me know that you want to be part of that panel. That makes my job a whole lot easier because otherwise I'm calling and sending out emails or sending direct messages trying to find people. If you know something about that subject, man, reach out to me. So this one is how I use social media. Photographers use social media for different reasons, of course, but in this conversation, working pros walk through the approaches that align with their values, their clients, and the kind of business that they're building. So you're going to hear what they focus on, what they've changed over time, how they've shaped social media into a tool that supports their work. I want you to add these upcoming shows to your calendar right now so that you don't forget. Yeah, it's every Monday. That makes it where you're less likely to forget. But hey, you've got lives with a million things going on, things that are popping up all the time. It's easy to forget. But if you put the Portrait Profits Show on your Monday, every single noon at Monday, and every single Monday at noon, with the exception of the second Monday of each month, where we move it to 6:30 in the evening, then you'll never forget. Oh, let's close out this episode. Lens Legends, thank you for spending time with me today. I know this conversation was heavier than usual, but it's one that we'll all face as portrait photographers. This episode wasn't what I originally planned for today, but recent events in our community reminded me how quickly life can change for those families we serve. It's in those moments that our work takes on a weight and a meaning far beyond what we imagined when we created the images of that family, that individual. I encourage you to create your own plan so that you are ready when this happens. Your own client loss response plan. And let me help you if you need help with it. For Landers Photography School and Digital Pro Lab, I'm Jim Landers, host of the Portrait Profit Show, where we spark passion and build thriving businesses. Until next week, Lens Legends, keep on being the amazing person that you are. I believe in you. And I look forward to watching you grow. You guys are awesome. You rock. Bye for now.